The Prophets, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Life of Abstinence, Chapter 3, Topic 2, Part 1. Once, the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, decided to stay away from his wives for 1 month, as he was displeased with them on some account. He lived for that 1 month in a separate room in the upper story. A rumor that the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, had divorced his wives got afloat among the Sahaba. When Umar heard of this, he came running to the masjid and found the Sahaba sitting in groups, struck with grief over the Prophet's suffering. He went to his daughter Hafsa, radiyallahu anha, who was a wife of the Prophet, and found her weeping in her room. He said to her, "Why are you weeping now? Have I not been warning you all these times to refrain from any act likely to cause the Prophet's displeasure?" He returned to the masjid and found some of the Sahaba sitting near the pulpit and weeping. He sat there for some time, but could not sit for long due to his excessive grief. He went towards the room where the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, was staying. He found Rabah, radiyallahu anhu, a slave, sitting on the steps. He asked him to go and inquire of the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if he could allow Umar, radiyallahu anhu, to see him. Rabah went inside and came back to inform him that the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, held his peace and said nothing. Umar, radiyallahu anhu, returned to the masjid and sat near the pulpit. Again the anguish eating his heart would not allow him any rest, and he requested Rabah to convey his request to the Prophet a second time. The Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, did not make any answer this time too. After tarrying near the pulpit for some time more, Umar, radiyallahu anhu, craved permission to see the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for the third time. This time, his request was acceded to. When he was ushered in, he saw the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, lying on a date leaf matting. The crossed pattern of the matting could easily be seen imprinted on his handsome body. He had a leather bag filled with the bark of the date palm as his pillow. Hurat Umar, radiyallahu anhu, says, "I greeted him with assalamu alaikum and inquired, 'Have you divorced your wives, O Prophet of Allah?' He answered in the negative. Much relieved, then I made bold to remark, a bit amusingly, 'O Prophet of Allah, we the Quraysh have always been having the upper hand over our women, but in case of the Ansar of Medina, it is the women who have the upper hand.